Aha, very interesting. Hmm. Hey, Mr. A here. Thank you for coming to my channel, and I really hope that these videos have been helpful for you. I hope you like the one that's coming up today. It took a while to put together, but I think you'll probably find something useful in it, some sort of useful information. If these videos have been helpful for you, please consider contributing to our classroom library. If you look down below in the description, you'll find a link to our classroom library's wish list, and we would be so thankful if you were able to support us. Have a great day, and on with the rest of the magic. Welcome back to Extra Help with Mr. A. Today I'll be showing you how to make an infographic. Now, infographics are a new sort of graphic text that help people to understand data in new and interesting ways. They're very graphics intensive, but they're also really cool, and I'm hoping that today, when you watch this video, you'll be able to find out how to make one for yourself. Before you make an infographic, of course, the first thing you're going to need is some information, and luckily I was able to think of some that I could use in this one as a demonstration. I went to climate.nasa.gov to get some information on climate change, and as you can see down here in my notes section, I have a few statistics that I want to be using. What we see here is just your typical PowerPoint slide with your click to add title and your click to add text. I'm just going to use a placeholder title right now. I'm just going to call this climate change. Very creative, I know. And then I'm going to click on the bottom box, so click to add text, and I'm just going to actually delete it. I don't like PowerPoint telling me what to do. I'm a bit of a control freak that way. I want to tell PowerPoint what to do so I can make this the way I want to make it. I'm going to go up here to my text box, click on text box, and just choose that from the drop down menu. I am using the Mac version of PowerPoint. I believe it's Mac PowerPoint 2011, and so yours might look a little bit different. I do apologize if that's the case. Still, you'll still be able to put a text box in there somehow. You may need to go to the insert menu or something like that to do it. I'm going to click somewhere in my slide, and I'm just going to type that statistic right now. So 11.5% of Arctic sea ice is lost per decade. And there's my first piece of information. Now, rather than have you sit through me typing a bunch of facts onto a PowerPoint slide, I'm going to hit pause and then come back to you, and you'll see a bunch of different text boxes on here, all with different pieces of information. And abracadabra, here we go with all of my awesome facts that I've been able to glean from the internet on climate change. Again, most of them came from climate.nasa.gov. I got some more from the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change document that was released a few weeks ago in late 2013. So here I've got some facts. 11.5% of Arctic sea ice is lost per decade. Since 2002, Antarctica has lost 100 cubic kilometers of ice per year. Sea level has been increasing by 3.16 millimeters per year since 1993, and the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, or the IPCC, calls for a substantial and sustained reduction in greenhouse gas if there's going to be some sort of dent made into climate change. Now, the first question I have is, how can I make this data jump out at my reader to make them interested, to call their attention to what I think is important? I'm going to take a look at this one because it's just a really stunning statistic. Losing 100 cubic kilometers of ice per year. That's a lot of ice. And so I think that 100 cubic kilometers is a really important part of that. What I'm going to do is I am going to just take this section of my fact, select it, and just leave it at that. All right, Antarctica has lost. I'm going to paste it here. Take that out as well. And put this right there for now. And the last thing I have to put in there is the actual amount of ice. I am going to go ahead and make this a superscript. So it is indeed kilometers cubed. And I think since that's a big number, I'm going to make it look really big. I'm going to highlight that and just change the font so it, like I say, it really jumps out at my viewer. I'm going to put it up to a much bigger font here, maybe even a little bigger than that. Drag it in there, and maybe even change the way that font looks. I'm going to add perhaps a shadow to it to make it jump out and give it a bit of a glow. So now we've gone from a fact that is just a line of text to something where that 100 kilometers cubed really jumps out at you, and the viewer or the reader, it draws their attention. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a few more edits to these things, and I'll show you the result when I come back. So as you can see, I've been able to put my facts here on one slide. I've arranged them in a way that I think looks pleasing and in a way that looks interesting. With the sea level, for example, I used a shape that was, I believe, a ribbon right here because I thought it might look like water. And I thought it would be a good idea to show the sea level rising using something that looked like water. And then on top of that, I put some text, which was how much that sea level is rising per year. For these ones, these two facts, I thought that the important information needed to jump out at my viewer, so I put a little bit of a glow on them. It's hard to see the glow around this one and this one, but once I change the background, you'll probably be able to see it a bit better. And I've just got it in a way that looks good. Now, if I have it in a certain way that I want to keep, what I want to do is group my text together. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on each text box, and if you're using a PC, you're probably going to want to hold Control while you click on these different boxes. On my Mac, I'm holding Shift to group these together. So what I do is right now is I'm holding Shift and I'm clicking the two different text boxes. I'm going to right click. Oops. Want to be holding Shift while I do this. Oh, see, I did it again. Old PC habits die hard. And I'm going to go to Grouping and then Group. And so now, whenever I move them, they're going to move together, and I can just move them around the page wherever I want. As you'll notice, that my intergovernmental panel on climate change fact had to move to another page because I didn't think that once I'm done here, I'm going to have enough room for that one. So I just put it onto the next slide, and I'll come back to that in a few minutes. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to find some clip art that really goes along well with what I'm trying to get across to my audience. So now that I've had some time to play around with this and put some images in here, I've gotten them from the Microsoft Office website. I've chosen a photograph to go along with this piece of information, a shape to go along with this piece of information, and a piece of clip art to go along with this piece of information. I thought that the ice cubes melting might be a good sort of image for people to think about and connect to the actual situation that would be happening in the Arctic right now. So one thing I noticed about this piece of clip art is that it's got some darker lines on here that I don't really like. They kind of take away from my 11.5%, which I really want to jump out. Luckily, Office does give you the option of changing that around. If I go to this recolor menu up here, I can actually change the color of those ice cubes any way I want. Now, I want a lot of blues in this because we're talking a lot about water, we're talking a lot about ice, and I think that a cold color scheme with a lot of blues would work pretty well. You can also go to more colors if you're so inclined. You get this beautiful color wheel, and if you want, for example, a beautiful, lovely magenta ice cube tray, there's nothing saying you can't do that. However, for my purposes, I'm going to choose this one, accent color 1, light, and I think that kind of goes well with the other images I have here. It still might be a little bit dark, and in that case, I'm going to go over to this transparency menu. Again, depending on your version, the transparency menu might be in a different location, but it will be there somewhere, so you might just have to look around. Another thing you can do is you can always right-click on the image that you're using at, and you'll often have a format picture option. When you go in there, you can often change things like putting a shadow on there, a reflection, and so forth. I'm going to change the transparency, fade this out a wee bit so that 11.5% really jumps out. So we've got the ice cubes there, but they're sort of in the background. They're a little bit hidden. So you'll notice now that I've changed my title a little bit to go along with the sort of information I'm trying to convey here. I've changed it from climate change, which is kind of boring and basic, to the big melt, which tells the reader that you're going to be talking about something melting, and hopefully people will be able to infer that you're going to be talking about ice. So the big problem we have right now is that we still have two individual slides. The information that I had earlier is not going to fit on one slide, so what do we do? Well, what we do is we open up a new PowerPoint file, and we have it right here. And you'll notice it's just a typically sized PowerPoint file. What I am going to do is I'm going to go up to File, Page Setup, and then you'll look at your dimensions here. So my width right now is at 25.4 centimeters. My height is at 19.05 centimeters. If you're in the States, you'll probably have inches there. But here in Canada, we use the amazing metric system, so I'm going to go ahead and keep it at centimeters just because I love it so much. And it's pretty simple. You may need to break out a calculator depending on what your decimals are like, but all you really need to do is change your height to however many slides you have and multiply it by what you have there. So right now I have 19.05. I've got two slides that I'm talking about, so I'm going to multiply 19.05 by 2, and you get 38.1 centimeters. And when you hit OK, you may get an error here. It'll say the current page size exceeds the printable area of the printer. Just hit OK if that happens, and you're given this big, long page. Now, if you click on your full slide, copy it, and then paste it in your new presentation, what's going to happen is it's going to be stretched. You're going to get something like that, which you don't want. You don't want it to be stretched like that because you've taken a lot of time to put your things the way you want to put them. Instead, you're going to click back on your original slide, press Control A or Command A if you're using a Mac, and that'll highlight everything. You're going to copy it, Control C or Command C if you're using a Mac, and Command V or Control V to paste it back on. And there your items are sized appropriately. I'll go to my second slide here, and I'll hit Control A again, copy it, Control C, and then back here I'll put Control V, and now we have everything on the same page. Now we do have a lot of empty space here. Keep in mind that as I'm putting this together, you're going to probably have a much more detailed infographic. This was just more of a tutorial to show you how to get things started here, and there's loads of options to play around with. You can certainly play around with how you're going to arrange things the way you want them. And in just one moment, through the magic of editing, I will show you my finished product. Basically what you're going to see is I'm going to apply a background texture on here and possibly add a little bit of text introducing my topic, and hopefully you'll get the idea of what an infographic can really be for your readers. So as you can see through the magic of video, I've been able to complete my infographic here. I've put in an arrow to connect the idea of the melting ice with the rising sea level, and with the caption, "Where's all the ice going?" I also put an introductory paragraph at the beginning to let people know what exactly we're going to be talking about, and an overall background, a texture there to make it look a little bit more polished. So that's basically it. That's how you put together an infographic. As I've said, this is a pretty basic one that I've just been putting together for the purposes of this video. Near the bottom, of course, you'd want to put where you got your information in a source section. But other than that, that's basically what you're looking for. If you want to put in a background, it's not too difficult to do. All you need to do is you go to your Themes tab, and then you choose Background, and then under Format Background, you can choose any number of fills or pictures or filters and things like that. For example, if you choose Picture or Texture, you can you can choose a picture from your own library, or you can choose a texture like, for example, if I wanted to change it up to pink tissue paper, that's what it might look like. But I was pretty happy with the recycled paper look, and there you go. So hopefully this has been helpful. You've been watching Extra Help with Mr. A, and please let me know if you have any questions. Have a great day. Thanks very much.